Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're jumping into some pretty intense local politics over in Wappingers Falls, New York. We've got this document, and the title alone tells you something: A Spectacle of Power, Pettiness, and Payback. It really paints a picture.
It really does. It's quite theatrical almost, the way it describes this power struggle. Gives you a very specific perspective on what's supposedly happening inside the village government.
Okay, so let's unpack this spectacle. The core of it seems to be this push, this effort to get rid of the village treasure.
Yeah, that's the central conflict highlighted.
And what makes it, particularly interesting is that the people apparently driving this were, initially on the mayor's side. Big turnaround.
It's quite the shift. The document gives us these, shall we say, colorful nicknames: Delusional Jeff, Donnie the Manipulator, Ryan the Apprentice. According to this source, these are the key players trying to orchestrate this move against the treasurer and, by extension, the mayor.
Right. And the backstory sketched out is that they backed the current mayor initially, but maybe not out of genuine support. More like choosing the lesser evil.
Well, that's how the document frames it. They saw the mayor as a preferable option compared to others mentioned, like Forceful Jen and Charlie 110% Proof Fairy. So, yeah, strategic alliances seem to be the name of the game from the start.
Which sets the stage for, drama, basically.
Exactly.
So the mission for us today, for you listening, is to understand these dynamics. What drives these local political fights? What are the potential consequences for the community? We'll look at the players, their alleged motives.
And what might happen next based on this account.
Okay, so let's get into the alleged power grab itself. The document suggests Donnie and Jeff had a plan from the beginning. Support the mayor, then. What? Make demands.
That's the narrative presented, yes.
Yeah.
Back the mayor, gain influence, and then presumably expect certain things in return. Leverage, basically.
And when that didn't happen?
Yeah.
When they couldn't control the mayor as they expected?
According to the source, that's when things shifted. It argues they move towards what it calls revenge politics. The implication is that because they didn't get their way, they started targeting people close to the mayor.
Like the clerk and, importantly here, the treasurer.
Precisely. And the document is very direct about this. It claims this push to replace the treasurer isn't about her performance.
Right. It says it has nothing to do with qualifications. It's all about
ego, power, and control. That's the direct quote. It even suggests they feel threatened by competence.
Oof. It actually says they attack those who know more than them. It's quite an accusation, implying it stems from their own lack of expertise.
That's the strong suggestion, yes. That their actions are driven by insecurity rather than genuine concern for the village.
So let's focus on the treasurer then.
Why
her specifically?
The document paints her as effective and loyal to the mayor. Two key things.
Okay. So she's good at her job, and she's aligned with the mayor.
Which, if you're trying to undermine the mayor or gain control, makes her a prime target. Taking out someone effective and loyal achieves two goals. It weakens the mayor and potentially gives you control over, the money.
Control the finances, control the information.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense in a power play context.
Absolutely. Financial control is often central in these kinds of disputes.
Now, the document mentions a pretty drastic tactic they might use, threatening a walkout from a board meeting.
Yeah, that's the alleged plan. Donnie and Jeff, possibly with Ryan joining in, would deliberately not show up to the next meeting.
Why? What does that achieve?
It's about the quorum. You need a certain number of board members present to legally conduct business. If they walk out or just don't attend.
No quorum, no meeting, no decisions, gridlock.
Exactly. The document suggests the goal is to paralyze the board, basically holding it hostage until the mayor agrees to replace the treasurer. It's a pressure tactic.
And this is where Ryan, the apprentice, is described as maybe not fully getting it. The source uses that phrase, a trusty version of a kid who just found out there's no Santa.
Huh. Yeah, it definitely portrays him as perhaps naive or maybe just following Donnie and Jeff's lead without fully understanding the potential fallout of such a move. A walkout isn't just symbolic, it can have real consequences.
Are there other interpretations mentioned, or is it pretty one-sided against him?
The document's perspective is quite clear. He's being manipulated or is willingly going along without grasping the severity. It also mentions they're trying to get another board member, Bob, on side, but he's apparently skeptical for now.
And they're trying to win over Rose, too, with campaign promises for unity.
Right. The source frames this as less about genuine unity and more about collecting votes. It calls it a potential hostile takeover disguised as collaboration.
Okay, so it's painting a picture of manipulation and hardball tactics.
Very much so. The narrative is one of calculated moves aimed at consolidating power.
This is all happening after recent elections. What does the document say about how Donnie, Jeff, and Ryan see their roles after being elected?
It points out something interesting. Don apparently ran unopposed.
Unopposed, okay.
Yet the document claims he, along with Rose and Ryan, who did have opponents, all seem to believe they have this strong mandate to, quote, right the ship.
So even without facing a challenge, Don feels he needs to make big changes. That seems a bit odd.
The source suggests a disconnect there, maybe an inflated sense of purpose or authority. It even goes so far as to imply Don doesn't grasp basic political principles.
Wow. And then there's Jeff. The document brings up a potential conflict of interest.
Yes, this is a major point. It states Jeff holds 2 positions that come with paychecks, one on the village board and another on the water board.
2 paid gigs from the village or related entities.
Correct. And the document directly ties this to the push against the treasurer.
Yep.
The argument presented is that the treasurer, by nature of her job in the finance office, would have knowledge of all the village's financial dealings, including who gets paid what and from where.
Ah, so the implication is Jeff might want someone else in that finance role, someone perhaps less aware or less inclined to scrutinize his own situation.
That's the strong implication made by the source, yes. That removing the current treasurer could be convenient if there are, as the source puts it later, financial skeletons.
Okay, let's look at those alleged receipts the document talks about. It lists incomes for Don and Jeff.
Right. It claims Don gets paid by the village board, the zoning board, and the water board.
3 sources.
According to this document, yes. And Jeff, as mentioned, allegedly gets paid by the village board and the water board.
So multiple income streams from village-related boards for both of them.
That's the claim. And the source presents this right alongside the accusation that they want to remove the treasurer who, oversees the very finances that include these payments. The timing and connection are presented as deeply suspicious.
It certainly raises questions about motivations, at least according to this source.
Definitely.
Now, back to that walkout threat. The document uses some serious legal terms: obstruction, dereliction of duty, malfeasance. It says these aren't just buzzwords. Can you explain what those mean in this context? Like malfeasance?
Sure. Malfeasance is basically official misconduct, an official doing something illegal or wrongful in their public capacity. Dereliction of duty is failing to perform your required duties. Obstruction, well, preventing the lawful functioning of the government.
So if they intentionally skipped a meeting to prevent a quorum.
The document argues that could potentially fit those definitions. It's highlighting that elected officials have responsibilities, and deliberately preventing the board from doing its job could have actual legal consequences, not just political ones.
It wants to make it clear this is serious business, not just political theater.
Precisely. It underscores the potential gravity and frames the tactic as unethical and potentially illegal.
And how does the document say the community feels about all this?
It claims the community has had enough, that there's frustration building over these power plays and what it portrays as ethical issues.
So it's positioning itself as a voice for fed-up residents.
Seems that way. It explicitly says it's trying to inform the voters, calling them the real bosses, about the alleged double-dipping, ethical violations, and using tantrums as tactics. It's a clear call to public attention and, implicitly, action.
And it ends that section with the direct challenge to 2 other board members, Walt and Bob.
Yes, it puts them on the spot. Will they uphold their oath of office and do what's right for the village, or will they fall in line with what the document calls this unqualified, unethical clique?
Talk about pressure. It really frames it as a moment of decision for them.
Absolutely. It sets up a potential climax, highlighting the stakes for everyone involved on the board.
Okay, so let's recap. This deep dive, based on this spectacle of power document, has really laid out a complex and, frankly, quite messy situation in Wappingers Falls. We've got this central fight over the village treasurer, which the source claims isn't about competence, but about ego, control, revenge.
And potentially tied to personal financial situations, like the alleged multiple paychecks for some board members.
Right. So hopefully you listening now have a clearer picture of how these local political scenes can get tangled up in personal grievances and power dynamics.
Yeah, the specifics, the alleged double-dipping, the treasurer's knowledge being a potential threat. Those details presented by the source probably stand out. It gives you a sense of the mechanisms that might be at play.
And even if you're nowhere near Wappingers Falls, these themes of power, ego, control over finances, they resonate, right? You see similar things in different kinds of organizations.
Definitely. It's a case study, in a way.
We aimed to give you a focused look, pulling out the key threads from this source without getting bogged down, giving you insights into these broader themes.
And it leaves us, and you, with something to think about. How often do these kinds of dynamics, maybe less dramatic, maybe more subtle, play out in local governments, committees, even clubs you might be part of?
What are the warning signs? How important is transparency in keeping things well accountable?
And if you were there, what questions would you want to ask Donnie or Jeff or Ryan or the mayor or the treasurer? What would you need to know to really understand what's driving this? Something to mull over.